Hey guys, it's Yorkie here with some multiplayer Project Cars gameplay, and we are in a Mercedes SLS GT3 on the grid at Derby Park with track IR. We're starting in P9 out of 11 and we are doing 10 laps around this circuit. It's a GT3 class race. As you can see, some other Z4s and there's an Audi R8 LMS Ultra up there waiting for the green light. There it is now, getting a relatively decent start, trying to power on through the wheel spin, managing to control it and actually getting a phenomenal start, jumping up quite a few places coming into the first turn. It looks like we're in P6 and looking over to the left there as we come past this Audi that had run wide. So now up into P5, jumping 4 places in the first corner, coming down the hill into this very fast left-hander, trailing the cars up ahead, trying not to get too close, especially in this first lap. I don't want to be too aggressive. We're having a good start already. I don't want to throw that away. So I want to keep my distance a little bit, especially as all these guys are fairly close together. And as you can see, there's a little bit of movement going around. A couple of guys having to brake just to avoid hitting each other in places. This Audi R8 has gone wide. I'm trying to capitalise that on now. Heading on his inside, just double checking he's there, still on the outside here, coming into this right-hander. I am not 100% sure where he is right now. I can't see him in that left mirror. He doesn't look to be alongside me, but it sounds like he's there, and I can't see anything in my rear view mirror, so he must be there. Yep, there he is, coming down into this last chicane to complete the last lap as his leaders get it all sorts of sideways. A couple of spins, I end up spinning as well, and I'm now dropped into P4, so I've gained a place from that. There was 2 guys who spun in front of me. There is chat, so guy who thought he caused the collision saying sorry, apologising there. Looks like these 2 are fairly slow coming out this first turn, so I'm going to try and capitalise on that. Coming down his inside on this next bit. Didn't actually mean to squeeze him as far over to the left hand side as I did just there. As you can see, he's rejoining the circuit. I didn't actually mean to do that, so apologies to that guy. You know, track AI does skew your perception as to where you are at times. That is what happened. So we're now behind this McLaren MP4 12C. It looks like he didn't take that corner all too well, so I'm up his inside, coming into this next right-hander, trying to brake fairly late and try and take this place. It looks like we've done that quite smoothly with no contact at all, although it looks like he's starting to come back at me here. So giving him room on the inside here, trying to squeeze him ever so very slightly, but not too much, and he does kind of back out of it, tuck in back behind me. So I'm now up into P2, although I've got myself very, very much crossed up into the braking zone, just about managing to keep hold of it, and I drop back down into P4 now, and made that P5 as the Z4 goes past, as we come down into the start of lap 3. So coming into turn 1, the Z4 up ahead, backfiring, spitting flames coming out of this fat exhaust that car has, and it looks like they're going side by side with the SLS. It looks like they made a tiny bit of contact, trying to capitalise, trying to get as close to them as possible through this section, and the McLaren has actually made a spin through that fast left-hander as well, so we've both gained a place. And I'm now up into P4, trying to avoid making contact with all the other drivers. It can be quite difficult, as driving these cars on the limits, it feels like you're very much on a knife edge. Once you get them there, it's absolutely great, but trying to hold them there and also trying to race at the same time is very, very challenging, but also very rewarding, which is why I'm absolutely loving this game at the moment. And as you can see, making the odd mistake of my own. It's not exactly been a tidy race for myself so far, but I'm in P4. We've got the best part of 6 and a very tiny amount of that 6th lap to go into the race. So there's plenty of time to make up for those mistakes. As you can see, P3, P2 is not far ahead. P1 has just gone through the first corner, so there is a possibility of still winning the race. But yeah, coming into this first turn now, just trying to be nice and smooth, trying to be as quick as possible, try and close this gap back down to P3. Not quite fully flat out through that corner, braking fairly early, making sure I got the right speed, taking a nice smooth line through that corner. These cars are very, very powerful, and I do have all the assists off with manual, so not always full percent throttle coming out of the corners, having to balance it a little bit. Same with the braking as well, trail braking a little bit in places, as this car is actually very good for trail braking. It's very, very stable in that sense. It's actually the most stable GT3 car, so very, very good. I do enjoy driving it. It's a big, fat, meaty engine as well, which does wonders down the straights. and all sounds absolutely fantastic. So as you can see, we are visually closing on the two guys in front of us, although it looks like they had a slightly better run coming out through the exit of that final chicane there, coming into turn 1. They're using the full width of the track that's available to them. I'm using slightly less, trying to stay within those white lines. However, getting a nice run through that first corner, coming down into turn 2 now, down into this very fast left-hander. That's pretty much full throttle just then, as I now had the tyres up to temperature, as the tyres do start off cold. And as you can see, I've had a much better run than this SLS up ahead, so I'm right on his rear bumper, having to lift ever so slightly to avoid bumping into the back of him in the braking zones. It's taken a much tighter line, however I've managed to maintain my speed, even though I did miss the apex of the corner just there. And as you can see, the car, the reflections off it look absolutely fantastic. You can even see the track through the actual windscreen and rear windscreen of the car up ahead, and just giving a cheeky little flash there, as you may have seen, just to let them know I am here, I am threatening to take your position away from you if you give me the opportunity. Something that I like about this game as well. You got headlights that you can turn on and off, so you can flash drivers in front of you. Don't do it when they're coming into the braking zones. That's a little bit harsh and a little bit cheeky. So instead, just do it in the straights when I know he's probably looking in his rear view mirror. So coming again out of this first turn into lap 6. Again, a much better run, having to back out ever so slightly, just trying to keep as close to him as possible, waiting for that perfect opportunity, as again I get a much better run through this right-hander and into the left. There's not really much room to move around the outside here. He's placing his car very well. Very good defensive driving by him so far, being very fair, not shutting any doors too late, making it very obvious where he wants to place his car to defend my position, or his position, sorry. And again, you can see trying to get as close to him as possible coming out through the corners, having to back out ever so slightly. But now I'm in the slipstream as we come down towards the final chicane, gaining on him ever so slightly, pulling out the slipstream down into this first turn, braking at exactly the same time, and he's just so tentatively close to getting my car up alongside his enough to warrant that corner mine, but wasn't quite there, and he did very well to rather fairly shut the door on me there. I did see that one coming, so that's why I did back out of it. I carried on braking when I would have lifted off normally. So again, I need to close this gap that's ever so slightly built up. It's not really much, as you can see. It's about 2 tenths down in the bottom left hand on the HUD there, but I know I'm strong through this corner, much stronger than him, as he runs wide, and getting a very good run out of him coming up towards this right-hander that's coming up. Fairly difficult braking zone as you start braking whilst you're going through that left-hander. It's very easy for the car just to snap to the left. As you can see, I'm wrestling with the car right now, trying to keep it on the track, try and keep it behind this guy as he gets all sorts of tail happiness going, coming through this long right-hander, which is giving me again a fairly decent run, coming down into his slipstream, coming down into the final corner, again going for exactly the same move, but again exactly the same sort of thing happening. However, I backed out ever so slightly earlier, and I get that horribly messed up. Stepped the rear wheels out on the grass on the outside of the circuit there, giving it the full beans. A little bit too much wheel spin, and it just stepped out the rear end of the car. And I don't know if you guys noticed back there, but that BMW Z4 that was ahead of us had also spun on that corner as well, which has gifted me P3, the guy ahead P2. So we're now up in the podium positions. I want to try and get the second place. It looks like first place has disappeared way off up into the distance somewhere. No idea where he's gone. But due to that mistake that I had made, a gap has now developed between me and second place. So trying to be smooth as possible, trying to keep the car on the track, and trying to, just trying to close that gap back down, coming into the final couple of laps of this race, as I would like to take P2. That is my aim for this race at this stage. Obviously at the start I would have liked to have had the win, but that's looking very unlikely at the moment, judging by the distance between P2 and P1. Getting a very good run through that final chicane. As you can see, the gap is closing to P2 all the time. MX Pro GT3 is the guy's name, and he is actually a very good driver. We spoke after this race as well, and we complimented each other on our driving, as he did very well in his defensive stuff. He thought I was very clean and fair whilst attacking him, and that's what stopped McLaren there, and we've now hopped up into P2. That was the guy in P1, and as you can tell by the chat, he's not too happy. That looks like a back marker who's actually up ahead of us both. So my guess is that they made contact and spun P1, which has cost him the win. You can see him there in the rear view mirror coming into the braking zones. It's the orange McLaren, and we've actually now both gone past this back marker. I would have, like to have stayed clear, and I just about managed that. And we're now actually coming onto the last lap, and as you can see, the gap to this SLS up ahead is pretty close. Again, getting on the grass, but this time just about managing to get away with it. Also managing to catch the car mid-corner as well. Like I said, it's pretty difficult to actually drive these cars. They're hard to drive, but they're even harder to master. But when you do, it's very, very rewarding. It's a lot of fun trying to do it as well. But as you can see, I'm right on the rear bumper of this SLS, probably a lot closer than I'd ever been at this point. And again, right underneath his rear wing. I probably couldn't get any closer without actually touching him, feathering the throttle ever so very slightly, just so I don't bump into the back of him and cause him to spin. I wouldn't want to ruin a race like this now by causing him to spin, also potentially myself. Trying to make a move there on that inside, and you saw him there cover it, tightening up his line for this corner, which is going to try and give me a good run down into this final chicane. This is basically the last chance that I got, as this is the last lap, so I'm going for it now, making it clear I want to go down the inside, but he's squeezing me down the inside as well, making it so very tight coming into this final chicane. Actually getting up on the curb and going up onto two wheels, just about managing to catch it. The McLaren in the rear view mirror has tried to make a move as well, basically just jump across the chicane, and actually caused himself to spin because of it. And that was a good race with a very nice, very tight conclusion. Getting P2 in the end, so I was pretty happy with that. But if anything, I actually enjoyed the very close racing, and hopefully you guys did as well. Please give the video a rating. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and of course don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content in the future. I shall hopefully see you soon, guys. Take care.